Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Had the Power to Control Vectors, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
The first fight was between Neji and Naruto. The next match was supposed to be Sasuke against Gaara, but Sasuke hadn't shown up yet. This was an obvious problem to the invasion plans since they were supposed to start when Gaara went into his beast mode during their match. Naruto was wondering how much Orochimaru was sweating up there in the cage box. Naruto knew that Orochimaru was disguised as the Kazekage, and Naruto assumed he had killed the real one, a fact that he was also sure that the Sand Nin had no idea about. Naruto was also curious on how the Hokage and his wife, who was also in the cage box, would react to seeing the one who took the precious son away from them. Naruto just hoped Orochimaru wouldn't spill the beans on him when he ultimately got his ass handed to him by the Hokage. Naruto heard the roar of the crowd and looked back down at the match that had already started. Neji took care of another one of Naruto's Shadow's clones. Come on, is this all you can do? This is the same strategy you used on Kiba. Neji taunted, taking out 2 more clones. Naruto didn't say anything and made 3 more clones to replace the ones she lost. Naruto knew, however, that her clones weren't getting through to Neji and was trying to think of plan. Unfortunately for Naruto, she had spent the entire month learning the Rasengan. She did manage to learn it, well, sort of. She needed the help of one of her clones to make it since she still had horrible chakra control. She could use it on Neji, but she had the feeling that Neji also had something up his sleeve, plus she wanted to save her new move to use on either Gaara or Sasuke if he showed up, that is. Meanwhile, Neji was still tearing thought Naruto's clones and she was having a hard time replacing them quick enough. The whole goal of Naruto's shadow clones were to make her opponent use up chakra, but Neji was hardly using any in his gentle fists. It was a huge problem for Naruto since even with the Kyuubi Shadow's clones still used up a bunch of chakra. What Neji didn't know, however, was that Naruto had been slowly making a ring of Shadow's clones around him, and the ones that had been fighting had just been to keep his eyes focused on them and not the other clones, and now it was finally complete. The clones that were currently fighting Neji jumped back to join the ring and every clone pulled at 2 kunais. "You're surrounded, just give up, Neji," one of the clones said. "I don't think I will, as fate has determined that I'm the one who will win this match," Neji said, just as arrogant as ever. "I hope your hospital room is comfortable," Naruto's clones said, and all of them threw their kunais as Neji. 8 trigrams palm rotation. Neji yelled, spinning around so fast that a dome of chakra appeared around him. It sent Naruto's kunais all over the place. A few even found their ways into Naruto's clones, dispelling them. Once Neji stopped spinning, he pointed to his eyes and said, "Did you really believe I didn't see your clones surrounding me?" Naruto cursed herself and jumped back away since her ring of clones had been broken by that attack, but Neji wouldn't have that as he rushed Naruto, closing more than a few of her chakra points before Naruto's clones could come and distract him. Now Naruto was in real trouble. Her feet were numb and she couldn't even feel her left hand anymore, and since she couldn't feel her left hand, she couldn't do hand signs, and if she couldn't do hand signs, then she couldn't make more shadow clones. Naruto recalled the 6 odd clones that hadn't been dispelled by Neji. Neji wasn't going to give her enough time to think of a new plan, however, as he rushed Naruto and her clones. The only thing Naruto could think to do was send all her clones at Neji at once. She had her clones form a circle around Neji just like last time, although on a much smaller scale. When they threw their kunais, Neji once again used his palm rotation and blocked the kunais, but Naruto was ready this time. Right when Neji stopped spinning, Naruto rushed at him. She was so close to landing a knockout punch, but Neji was prepared for this. When Naruto got in range, Neji shouted, 8 trigrams 64 palms. He landed every hit on Naruto, who was forced almost halfway across the arena. Her legs felt like jelly and her arms were not completely useless. On top of that, all her clones had disappeared since she no longer had the chakra control to support them. "It looks like I win, although fate already decided I would," Neji said, calmly walking up to Naruto. "You should just give up." Naruto growled at Neji, unable to do anything else. She was out of strength and out of plans. She really should just give up, but she was too stubborn to do so. She was just so mad that she couldn't beat this bastard for Minima's sake. If only she had more power. Then it hit her, she did have more power. Tu-san and Ka-san would hate her for using it, but if it was enough to beat Neji, then she would take the punishment. The crowd was ready for the next fight, sure that Neji had won, but something unexpected happened to Naruto. Demonic chakra started leaking out. Minima, who was watching from the crowd, was afraid that Naruto had gone back to her old ways. Minato and Kushina were horrified that Naruto lost control of the Kyuubi after not having an accident for so long, although they now knew those weren't accidents. They were about to jump in and stop Naruto, but just as quickly as the chakra appeared, it disappeared, and with it Naruto had full use of her body. Neji, who had been caught off guard, was forced to take a punch to the face, and it made him disoriented. Naruto then overwhelmed him with Shadow's clones. He was too disoriented to put up a decent defense and was knocked out. Naruto actually thought Naruto pulled off a pretty good move with her demonic chakra. She used it to basically flush out her chakra network and restore it to normal. It was a dangerous move, however. Leak too little and it doesn't work. Leak too much and you lose control. Naruto was amusing himself with the idea that Naruto would lose control and help their invasion, but then Naruto remembered. It was Sasuke's fight, but he wasn't here to take part. As Naruto was figuring out what impact this would have on the invasion plan, the Hokage announced that the second match was to be pushed back to the last match, probably under Orochimaru's suggestion. So the third match was announced, which Kankuro then forfeited. So the fourth match began. It was not nearly as flashy as Naruto's match, but it was still enjoyable, especially to Naruto, who despite his rather flashy vector control enjoyed outsmarting an opponent, then just running at them at full force. The fight ended when Shikamaru used a clever trick with his shadows to take control of Temari's body. Then he forfeited, which was a shock to most of the spectators, but Naruto had a feeling from watching the way Shikamaru fought that he was going to forfeit. Then it was on to Sasuke match, who had still yet to show up. He was given 10 minutes to show or forfeit his match. Naruto wondered what was keeping Sasuke. He didn't seem like the type to wuss out, so what could he be doing? Naruto's question was answered when a smoke cloud appeared in the center of the arena with Kakashi and Sasuke in it. What assholes, not only were they late, but they had to make a big entrance too. Naruto said out loud. Sasuke's curse mark was gone and he looked ready to go. Alright Sasuke'll be watching from the audience, so give me a good fight. Kakashi said. Hi, Sasuke said, staring down Gaara, who started walking down the stairs towards the arena. Kakashi then shunshined right next to Naruto. Mind if I sit here? He asked. I don't mind, wouldn't want you to miss Gaara killing your student because you were late. Naruto replied. I'm sure he'll be fine, but if you want to talk about being late, where's your student? Kakashi said, sending Naruto's blow right back at him. I have no idea. Naruto said angrily. The fight between Sasuke and Gaara was heated right for the get-go. Sasuke could now move fast enough to avoid Gaara's sand. This was a big blow to Gaara, since up-close combat was his weakest point. To stop Sasuke from getting past his sand, Gaara surrounded himself in it. Sasuke used a move that Naruto hadn't seen before. He basically made a blade of lighting around his hand and he was able to move at a very fast speed. Apparently that jutsu was no joke either, because it pierced right through Gaara's sand, and that's when all hell broke loose. At first it was quiet. Nothing made a sound. Then a scream that sounded like the scream of a wounded animal came from the arena. Then a very large hand that looked to be made of sand shot out from the dome. Sasuke avoided it, but the trouble was just beginning. White feathers started raining from the sky, and at the same time a purple barrier was erected, trapping the cage box inside. Naruto knew what was going on, had used his vectors to disturb his chakra, so he wouldn't be caught in the genjutsu. As the civilians and the less skilled ninja in the audience were collapsing, a giant snake broke through the village walls and let in a swarm of sand and sound ninja. Along with them, sound ninja who were hiding in the audience started attacking the leaf ninja who had broken the genjutsu. Kakashi stood up, took out a kunai and turned to Accelerator, knowing that he was part of the invasion. Accelerator gave him a smile that should have belonged to a serial killer. Before Kakashi even tried to attack, Accelerator stomped his foot on the ground, and what happened next both amazed and terrified Kakashi. Multiple cracks started tearing through the ground. It only took a second for Kakashi to realize what was going on. He jumped away from Accelerator right before that entire section of the arena collapsed. Once the dust settled, Kakashi looked around for Accelerator, but it was no use. He was nowhere to be found, and Sound Ninja were already starting to make their way into the arena. It was only now that Kakashi noticed that Gaara and Sasuke had disappeared just like Accelerator. Kakashi wanted to look for him, but he knew that he had to stay here and protect the people that hadn't been killed by Accelerator's attack. Kakashi just defeated 2 Sound Nin when Minima ran up to him. "Minima, where is Naruto?" Kakashi asked. "She followed Sasuke, who ran off to chase Gaara. But what's going on? Who's attacking us?" Minima replied. "That's just great," Kakashi said, thinking what trouble Naruto would get herself into. Judging from the giant snake they're using, I'm guessing the Sound Nin are actually Orochimaru's soldiers. Minima suddenly seemed to snap to attention at the thought of fighting Orochimaru's minions. "What do you want me to do?" Minima asked. "Go escort the villagers to the bunkers inside the Hokage Mountain and then take shelter there yourself," Kakashi replied as more Sound Nin started coming towards him. "But I can fight too. I want to help," Minima begged. "That's not your job. As a genin you need to help the villagers," Kakashi said hastily as he ran to meet the Sound Ninja. Minima was infuriated. Here were a bunch of people who could know where Naruto was, and yet Kakashi tells her to hide instead of forcing them to tell her. Well, if he thought that was going to happen, then he was dead wrong. Sasuke followed Gaara all the way into the forest. He almost had to fight Kankuro, but Shino had shown up to fight him. Now Sasuke was facing Gaara, who had created a second sand arm. He had hit Temari into a tree, knocking her out, so it was just the 2 of them. Sasuke was surprised by how fast Gaara was now. Sasuke was barely dodging Gaara's attacks. The fight was becoming more and more draining on Sasuke. He eventually decided that the only way he could win was to use his Chidori a second time. He managed to cut one of Gaara's arms off, and Sasuke thought he had finally done some serious damage, but this was proven incorrect as the arm reattached itself, and it only seemed to make Gaara angrier. He grew a sand tail and came rushing at Sasuke. Sasuke had already used his max of 2 Chidori and didn't have the strength left to dodge. Gaara used his tail to hit Sasuke, and Sasuke was sent through a few trees before hitting the ground. Gaara walked up to him with a murderous look in his eyes. Sasuke was sure that Gaara was going to kill him, but right before he smashed his giant hand on Sasuke, he heard someone screamed. "Rasengan." Gaara turned to look at Naruto, who had just jumped out of the trees. He had been caught off guard, and now Naruto's Rasengan was just a few centimeters from his face. When it did hit, Gaara was set flying into the trees just like Sasuke did. However, he was sent way farther than Sasuke was. "I guess it's a good thing that I came to help, or you'd be dead right now," Naruto said to Sasuke. "Whatever," Sasuke said. Their conversation was interrupted, however, when a roar came from where Naruto sent Gaara flying. A huge creature made entirely of sand rose from the forest, and if you looked closely you could see Gaara stinking out of the head, sleeping. "Crap, this isn't good," Naruto yelled. She and Sasuke ran away as the creature tried to step on them, but instead of stomping them, something else happened to the creature. Multiple explosions went off right next to his head, causing it to step back. Then a giant fireball was shot at its head, blinding it in smoke. "Who is that?" Naruto said. "I know you it is," Sasuke said, although he didn't seem happy. Then someone landed in front of them. "You know I can take care of myself, Itachi." Itachi turned to look at Naruto and Sasuke with his Sharingan already activated. "I know, but you're facing the one tail with little chakra, so I thought I should help. Besides, you shouldn't run off." Sasuke didn't look happy. Naruto frowned at him before facing Itachi. "Forget about him, I'm actually glad you came to help us, so what should we do?" Itachi pointed to the Shukaku's head, which was finally become visibly as the smoke was clearing. "We need to wake up Gaara, then the Shukaku personality should be suppressed." "And how are we going to do that?" Naruto asked. "I'll take you up there and let you punch him," Itachi said. "How are you going to get me up there?" Naruto asked. A few seconds later, Naruto was riding piggyback on Itachi. It was very odd to see Itachi, someone who was usually so stoic and calm, to be carrying a Naruto like a little kid. It was especially shocking to Sasuke, who had never seen Itachi do anything even close to this. "You ready?" Itachi asked. Naruto had a slight blush being in this embarrassing position with Itachi, but replied that she was. Itachi ran towards the one tail, who had regained its senses after Itachi's attack and was now spitting giant balls of wind at him, but Itachi dodged expertly and got to the Shukaku's leg before starting to run up it. The Shukaku tried desperately to swat him off, but Itachi was just too fast. He climbed all the way to his head where he dropped Naruto off. It's up to you now, Itachi said before doing a backflip in front the Shukaku's eyes. He sent 2 fireballs at the One-Tail's eyes, blinding him again and giving Naruto the chance to punch Gaara without the Shukaku's interference, and that's just what Naruto did. One good hard punch to the face shook Gaara awake and the One-Tail was forced back in Gaara, leaving Gaara to fall to the ground below. Naruto landed gracefully on her feet and turned to look at the beaten form of Gaara. How did I lose? Gaara asked seemingly to himself, but Naruto had a feeling he was actually asking her. Gaara, do you know what I see when I look at you? Naruto asked. Gaara didn't respond, but Naruto knew that he was listening. I see what I could have become. I was so close to being what you are now, but then I lost something important to me and I realized that if I kept going down that path I would keep losing the things I held precious. The truth is, Gaara, if it was just me then I would have lost, but it wasn't. I had Sasuke and Itachi to help me. Naruto pointed to where Temari was lying. There's a person that wanted to help, but you refused and now look, you lost. I can't live your life for you, but I will tell you that you can change too, and when you do I hope we can have a rematch. Naruto didn't know this at the time, but her words really did get through to Gaara. Naruto was walking down the streets of Konoha, occasionally having to step over a body. Naruto predication had been right, they were losing the battle. The Sound and Sand Ninja were being wiped out by the Leaf Nin. The snake they had used to break down the wall had been killed by Jiraiya, and the barrier that Orochimaru had put up to fight the Hokage was no longer there. Naruto wondered if Orochimaru was dead. Probably not, since Minato would try to keep him alive to get information about his lost son, and since Minato or his Anbu hadn't come after him yet, Naruto would assume that Orochimaru escaped. Naruto hadn't really been fighting in the invasion. He would just calmly walk down the city streets, and if a Leaf Nin engaged him then Naruto would kill him, but other than that Naruto didn't fight. If it wasn't for the sound headband he was wearing, you would be hard-pressed to actually realize he was an invading ninja. Naruto was an invading ninja, however, so it was probably time to leave and head back to the Land of Frost. Naruto started making his way to the gate when a golden chain swung at him from the side. Naruto assumed the attacker had planned for the chain to wrap around him and capture him, but instead it bounced off Naruto harmlessly. Naruto turned around to look at his attacker, although he already had a pretty good idea of who it was. You know you have some guts to be attacking a Junin. Minima was standing in the street, her chain coming out of the palm of her hand. Her eyes had the fire of anger in them, along with the confusion of why her chain didn't hit accelerator. I attacked you because I knew you were one of Orochimaru's high ranks, so I want to know something. Where the hell is my brother? Minima screamed. I don't feel like answering that question, Naruto said as he pulled a pebble from his side pocket and threw it at Minima. Minima was shocked to see that the pebble was going so fast, but she was able to use her chain and block it. That was pretty good. Most of the time people are too stunned to see that I'm using a pebble as a weapon, but just because you blocked one doesn't mean anything. Naruto reached into his pocket again and this time pulled out a handful of pebbles. Let's see you block this. Accelerator threw all the pebbles at once and they were all going just as fast as the first one, something that should have been impossible. Minima dodged along with blocking them with her chain to avoid getting hit. How was he able to throw them all so fast? He didn't even wind up his shot, Minima thought. Accelerator kept throwing pebbles until he finally reached into his pocket and found out that he had used all of them. Minima sighed in relief. She could finally take the offensive. Just give up, you out of ammo, so just tell me where my brother is and I promise not to hurt you. Accelerator tilted his head to the side and gave Minima a look that made it seem like she just suggested the stupidest thing in the world. You really think just because I'm out of pebbles you've won? Well, I got news for you, I can throw other things than just pebbles. Accelerator reached into his back pocket this time and pulled a gray-colored ball that was about the size of Accelerator's hand and looked to be made of rubber. You know you have the strangest weapons, Minima said, not sure if she should be laughing or not. Accelerator gave her a psychotic grin and said, you know it might not look like much, but this ball is going to make you wish I hadn't run out of pebbles. Then Accelerator threw the ball like a baseball. It was going mildly faster than the pebbles, but it didn't matter. Minima didn't even have to move. The ball sailed right past Minima's head. You were saying something about that ball giving me some trouble, Minima said, taking a step forward. Well, I show you some trouble. Minima screamed as she felt something drilling into her back. She could feel it tearing through her clothes and it was burning her skin, but just as quickly as the object came it went away. The pain did not, however. Minima turned around to see what had hit her and saw the ball that Accelerator had thrown bouncing off a wall behind her. When it bounced off the wall, Minima could see a mark on the wall where she assumed it hit the first time. The ball bounced at an angle, so instead of going back to Minima it went back to Accelerator, who caught it. It was still going pretty fast when it was heading towards him, but right when it touched his hand it was like all the speed was lost. You know, the only thing I had for most of my childhood was books and this ball. I threw this ball every day for years, and I learned every angle it would bounce and every way that I could throw it to make to bounce at that angle. Accelerator said. Minima was slumped down because her back hurt so bad. It was like someone had dipped a drill in magma and used it on her back. I won't lose to you, Minima said. That's a pretty bold claim considering that you haven't hit me once and I've barely been trying. But since you're so determined, I'll show you one of my real moves. Accelerator held his hand with the ball out and his palm facing down. Then he dropped the ball, but it was going so fast that it seemed like he threw it. The ball hit the ground and bounced back up to Accelerator's hand, but when it hit his hand it was forced back down like he threw again, and this kept happening. Every time it went faster, and not too long after he started, a crater started to form on the ground, and it got bigger every time the ball hit the ground with more speed than it had the previous time. Eventually it got so fast that it just looked like a gray blur. Then Accelerator suddenly pulled his hand back and slapped it. Minima had no chance at all. The ball hit her before she could even register that Accelerator had hit it. It hit Minima's chest and she felt pain like she had never felt before. She was sure a couple of her ribs were broken on impact, but that wasn't the worst part. The ball was spinning so fast that it was actually causing her clothes to smoke. That was before it torn through and hit her skin. It felt like what had happened her back, but 100 times worse. After what felt like a lifetime of pain, the ball bounced off Minima and back to Accelerator, and just like before he caught the fast-moving object as if he was just playing catch with a friend. Minima collapsed to her knees, and Accelerator put the ball back in his back pocket. I'm done with you, he said before starting to walk off. Minima was in pain and probably needed medical attention immediately, but she just couldn't let him get away. She painfully got to her feet and formed a Rasengan. It took every ounce of strength she had, but she forced herself to run at Accelerator. She could see him looking at her from the corner of his eyes, but he didn't do anything to stop her. She was almost there when suddenly she came to a halt. The Rasengan was so close to Accelerator that it was just a few inches away from his hair. Man, that was a close one, a voice said from behind Minima. Minima shifted her eyes as best she could to see who had stopped her. She was surprised to see Shikamaru with his Shadow Passion Jutsu active, and that when she realized that he had used it on her. Shikamaru, why the hell would you stop me? Minima yelled. Haven't you been paying attention? At the beginning of the fight you chain bounced off him like it was nothing and he wasn't even looking. If I hadn't have stopped you, then who knows what would have happened to your arm. What, you've been here the whole time, why didn't you help me? Minima said, although she did realize that she owned Shikamaru for stopping her. I knew there was no way I could beat him, and I hoped you would figure that out too, but apparently not. Shikamaru said. Naruto watched them argue back and forth. It seemed like they had completely forgotten about him. Naruto didn't really care, but it seemed like a good way to get yourself killed. These leaf ninja were too laid back even in the event of an invasion. You two can sit here and chat all day, but I've got to go, Naruto said as he walked off. What, come back here you bastard, you still haven't told me where my brother is. Minima yelled and ended up coughing up blood. Let him go, Minima. We can't fight him and you really need to go to a hospital, Shikamaru said, releasing his jutsu. It was only now that Minima looked down to see how bad the damage was, and she almost lost her lunch when she did. Her clothes were burned right through and her chest was scarred black. The blood was crusted up on the sides of the wound. Blood was running down her stomach and pooling on the ground. Minima could only assume her back was in a similar state, just not as bad. Yeah, I think you right, let's go. Minato was in his office with Jiraiya after the invasion. Damn it, I can't believe I let Orochimaru get away, Minato cursed. There was nothing that you could have done. Orochimaru got the jump on us. We should just be glad that not too many people were killed, Jiraiya said. By the way, how is Minima doing? Minato signed. Tsunade said she'd be alright, although the injury is defiantly going to leave a scar and Minima will have to spend a while in the hospital. Kushina and Naruto are with her now, but Kami Jiraiya, did you see what Accelerator did to her? Yeah, I saw, and I bet Kushina want to get her hands on Accelerator, especially since he has links to Orochimaru. Jiraiya said. Yeah, about that, has your spies been able to locate Orochimaru or any of his men? Minato said. Well, apparently Accelerator really does live in the land of Frost, but it's been hard to get information on him since I have so little spies there. I never sent more in because it was never a priority, but now I've more than tripled the amount of spies in the village he lives in, so if he comes back I'll know. Jiraiya said. What are the odds he'll return? Minato asked. Well, even with all the bounty hunters after his B-class rank he never moved, so I'm thinking it's pretty good. Jiraiya said. Just then a knock came from the door. Come in, Minato said. Shikamaru walked through the door. Hello, what are you here for? Hello Hokage, I've come to talk to you about Accelerator. Shikamaru said. Jiraiya and Minato both leaned forward, eager to hear what he had to say. I saw the entire battle between Minima and him, and I think I have a pretty good grasp on his skills along with how to beat them. Minato was awed. Well, come on, tell me. Before I say anything, I think you should know that the bingo book is wrong. Accelerator isn't a B rank. From what I saw, he's a high A rank, probably even an S rank, since I didn't see him try very hard. Shikamaru said. The room descended into silence. Was Accelerator really that strong? A week later, Land of Frost. Naruto was finally back. It took him forever since he had to sneak out of the Land of Fire, but he made it. He opened the door to his house and was blasted with a stream of water. It was reflected, of course, but it still blocked Naruto's sight. When he could finally see, he saw Hanabi standing in front of him with a very proud look on her face. Hitomi and Mito were standing beside her, looking equally proud. I'm guessing you got a hold of your elements, Naruto said. You bet we did, Mito said. That's great, now where's Suigetsu? Naruto said, walking past them and into the living room. Hey, we haven't seen you for almost 2 months and you're more concerned about him than us. Hitomi complied, following Naruto into the living room along with the other girls. Suigetsu was spread out of the couch looking at his sword, and to Naruto's surprise he wasn't the only one there. Keys was also in the room, sitting in a chair. Accelerator, you're finally back, Keys said, getting up for his seat. We've got a problem. Jiraiya increased his spies tenfold, and they're looking for you, and I don't have the people to keep them off you. Naruto cursed himself. There was no way they didn't see him walking through the streets so causally and into his house. They haven't found out about the girls yet, have they? Naruto asked. No, they haven't been targeting this house, and I told you girls not to leave, but since you back it's going to be almost impossible to get them out without Jiraiya's spies noticing. Keys said. Damn, that bites, I'll have to think of something. Naruto said to himself. But that's for later. Suigetsu, I see the girls already got you your sword, so there's nothing else for you to do, so you're free to leave. Actually, I think I'd be staying with you, Suigetsu said, getting off the couch. You see, I've decided I'm going to teach the brats Kenjutsu so they can become the new generation of swordsmen, if that's okay with you, of course. Naruto raised an eye, not expecting Suigetsu wanting to stay, but it didn't matter to him. It's fine if you want to stay, but just remember that my problems are you problems, which includes the one we're having right now. That's fine, Suigetsu replied. All right, now to fix the problem at hand, Naruto said, but just then they all heard the front door being opened. Everyone got into fighting position except for Naruto. They wouldn't launch an attack this soon, would they? Naruto thought. Everyone waited to see who would come through the living room and was surprised to see an old man with a torn traveling clock on. Although they knew something wasn't right. Hey, why don't you take your henge off? Hanabi said with her Byakugan active. A Hyuga impressive, the man said before he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Now standing there was a tall man with orange hair wearing cloaks that Naruto recognized. They were the same cloaks Orochimaru used to wear, but that wasn't what shocked Naruto the most, it was his eyes. They were like nothing Naruto had ever seen before. Just who are you? Naruto asked. I'm Pian, the leader of an organization called the Akatsuki, and I would like to speak to you, Accelerator, or should I say Naruto Namikaze. Keys looked at Naruto, then to Pian, then back to Naruto. What are you really, Naruto? Keys said, his mouth moving like a fish. The only one in this room who wasn't aware of that fact was you, Suigetsu said, sounding like a smart ass. But that means you're the Hokage's son and you two are sibling. Keith said, pointing to Mito. Why didn't you say anything? I mean, if I would have known you were the Hokage's son, then my guys would have never attacked you. Keith, shut up. Naruto said, getting annoyed because his sudden change of attitude towards him. But I want to know how you know my name and why you came here. Naruto said, glaring at Pain, wanting to be attacked by him at any moment. As you probably know, Orochimaru was once part of my organization. Pain said, sounding like a lawyer giving his opening statement. He betrayed me, however, so I sent one of my associates to take care of him. Orochimaru was unfortunately able to escape when my associate invaded his base. We were able to collect all sorts of data from his base that he was unable to take with him or destroy. This information had all of his ongoing experiments in them, which includes Naruto Namikaze, who has the unique power to control vectors. Naruto's eyes darted to the side so Pain would catch his frustrated look. Pain really did have his number. So why did you come here to talk to me? I'm sure Orochimaru had a number of other test subjects with unique skills. That may be true, but none of them seemed as promising as you. What I came here for is to offer you a membership into the Akatsuki, a group of S-rank missing nins. Pain said. Well, I'm not an S-rank, so wouldn't that be a problem? Naruto said. You are an S-rank in everything but title. I have spies everywhere, so I know about your part in the Konoha invasion, and I also know that you are under watch by the Leaf, and your counter system is all but useless to you now. Pain said. What about the brats and Sugetsu over there? They're not S-class, so will I have to leave them behind? Naruto asked, trying to find out more about this guy. What about me? Keith said. No one paid him any mind. Even if they won't be full-fledged members of the Akatsuki, they can still come with you and help out the Akatsuki in other ways. Pain said, like he expected the question, which made Naruto even more concerned of how much he knew about them. Let's say I do decide to join. I doubt you putting together a group of S-class ninjas to start a book club. What is your goal? Naruto asked. Right now the Akatsuki won't be making any big moves, but a goal is to capture all the Jinchuriki and extracted their tail beasts. Pain said. Silence. Naruto didn't know what to say. The truth was that Naruto wouldn't have a problem joining the Akatsuki. He was basically being handed the answer to his current problem, and if all he had to do was take down so Jinchuriki, then he should be fine, even if they were the strongest weapons of the shinobi world. The problem was that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and Naruto wasn't sure if his brats would be able to join an organization that's goal was to hunt him down, especially Mito. It was strange for Naruto to think of Mito's well-being over his own reason, but as much as he hated to admit it, he had grown attached to the brats. Well, Mito, what do you think? If we join them, then you'll likely have to kill Leaf Ninja, and after that there won't be any way for you to return to the Leaf. Mito looked at her brother and at Pain, trying to make a decision. It was true that Naruto treated her horribly, but Mito knew that extracting a tailed beast meant death, and Mito didn't know if she could really help kill her sister. It was true Kushina survived the extraction, but that was a miracle that couldn't be expected to happen again. Mito looked into Naruto's red eyes. Would he be mad if they didn't join? Mito didn't think so, but one thing was for sure: if they didn't join, it was going to cause Naruto tons of problems, since he would have to think of something to get them out of the land of frost undetected. Mito probably stood there for a good 2 minutes trying to decide it, but no one rushed her, not even Pain. Mito took a deep breath and made her decision. My old family drove me away. I've found a new one. Mito said, looking at Naruto and Sugetsu, her two insane older brothers, and Hanabi and Hitomi, her two sisters. We'll join. I'm pleased to hear that. Pain said, turning to Naruto. I already have a base set up for you. There is no way they'll find you once you're there. Once you arrive, you be briefed on what to do. You're not coming with, Keith said, as if it hadn't occurred to him that he wasn't invited. No, I'm a busy man. There is already someone here to guide you. Pain said, answering his question. Then the strangest thing happened, something that Naruto could only describe as a Venus flytrap emerged from the floor, only to open up to reveal a person inside. At least Naruto thought it was a person. One side of his body was completely black and the other part was completely white. Hello, Wazestu. The plant said in two different voices at the same time. I'm guessing you're the one who's taking us. Naruto said calmly, although he was a little creeped out. That's righty. The white side said, even though Naruto only knew this because his mouth moved on the white side, where on the black side it seemed to be missing. Alright then, brats, get ready, you'll be tagging along with Zestu for a while. Sugetsu make a water clone to make sure nothing goes wrong. Naruto said. Wait, you're not coming with us. Hanabi said. No, I don't want Janya's spies to trail us, and if just you three leave the house under the cover of a henge a little after I wander around the village, then they won't follow you. Naruto said. But I though were joining because it would let us get away from Jiraiya. Hitomi said. And that's exactly what we're doing, but we just met these guys and I don't have too much trust in them, so once I'm informed you've been safely dropped off at the base then I'll come. Naruto said. But if you don't trust them, then why are you leaving us with the? Mito said. We have nothing to gain from killing you. It would only set back our plans if Naruto didn't join. Pian said. Although it's highly likely you'll be attacked if you stay here, Naruto. I didn't know you cared. Naruto said. I don't, but it would be problematic if you were to be killed. Pian said. Just come with us. Hanabi said. I don't want to be left alone with that thing. I don't appreciate being referred to as a thing. Black Zestu said. I'm sure you'll be fine, besides you'll also have Sugetsu's water clone with you. Naruto said, pointing to the clone Sugetsu had already made and hanged to look like some random person. I assume this arrangement will be fine. Naruto asked Zestu. We'll come tell you when the girls have been dropped off along with proof we didn't eat them. Zestu said. Then it's all set. Naruto said, pretending not to notice that Zestu said, eat, instead of kill. The girls did notice, however, and you could feel the nervousness radiating off them. They knew that Naruto had already made his decisions to stay and there was nothing they could do about it. They went up to go pack their bags, and during this time Pian left under a very powerful genjutsu as not to be seen by the spies. Once the girls were packed and hanged, Zestu also transformed into another person. Alright, I'll leave the house and draw the attention of the spies away from the house, and then you'll follow Zestu to the base. Sugetsu, you'll stay in the house since they don't know about you and there's no reason for you to leave. Naruto said. Why are you having me make a clone instead of going with them? Sugetsu asked. Because I'm almost certain we'll be attacked by the leaf before the brats make it, and I want you to surprise them. Naruto said. Sugetsu smiled at the thought of an upcoming battle. The girls, however, wished that Naruto would come with them even more now. Hey, what about me? Kise said, getting really irritated. We can't have any loose ends. Naruto said darkly. Sugetsu, kill him. Sugetsu didn't waste a second, picking up his sword and lobbing off Kise's head. The girl stifled a scream at the gruesome display. Zestu was licking his lips. Mind him, I take the body I could as a snack for the road. Do what you want, Naruto said, walking out the door. Once Naruto was outside, he could feel them. Every eye looking at him, following his every move. When he took a step, he could feel the eyes shift a little, and it was exactly what Naruto wanted. He walked down the street, never seeing a soul, but knew they were all around him. During this time, the brats, Zestu and Sugetsu's clone, snuck out of the house. Minato and Jiraiya watched Shikamaru leave the room. If Shikamaru's evaluation of accelerated skills is correct, then he's not going to be an easy enemy to beat. Jiraiya said. I know, but his plan also gives you the most chance of success. Minato said. Yeah, who are you going to assemble to go after him? Jiraiya asked. Well, Shikamaru is a requirement along with Time Guy, who's a big part of the plan, and I know that Naruto will want to fight too. Minato said, giving Jiraiya a smile. Are you crazy, Minato? Naruto is a genin and you going on an A-rank mission, she'll be killed. Jiraiya yelled, slamming his hands on Minato's desk. It's not like she not going to be protected because I'm going to. Minato said, instantly putting an end to Jiraiya's outburst. I see, who else? Jiraiya said. Kakashi, Itachi, and since his brother and most of his team will already be going, Sasuke too, along with a handful of Anbu. Minato said. I'd also like you to come as well. Sorry, no can do, Minato. Jiraiya said. While you're chasing after Accelerator, I'm going to investigate the village hidden in the sound, so if it turns out Accelerator doesn't know where Naruto is, then Otogakure should give us some information. I see, well, I trust your decision. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to the hospital to see how Mina's doing. Minato said. Tell her I said hi. Jiraiya said. Will do. Minato replied. When Minato entered the hospital, he saw Kushina and Naruto sitting by Mina's bed. She had an IV attached to her arm which was supplying her with painkiller which she desperately needed. There were bandages wrapped around her torso and chest. Hey Minima, how you doing? Minato asked as he took a seat on the other side of the bed across from Naruto and Kushina. I'm feeling a lot better soon, it really helped me out. Minima replied. Well, she did manage to patchly up good as new, which should be considered a miracle after what Gaara did to him, but I have even better news for you three. Minato said. Thanks to you Minima, we found out a lot about Accelerator's power and came up with a plan to beat him, and that means we'll finally get to see Naruto again. The girls and Kushina shoot up. Really, I'm going to get to see my baby boy. Kushina said. That's the plan. Minato said. I'm making a task force right now to go after it, and guess what Naruto, you get to be on it. Really? Naruto said, her eyes lighting up. When do we leave? Hold on Naruto. We don't even know where Accelerator is yet, but Jiraiya suspects he going to spot it in the Land of Frost very soon. Minato said. Plus it's going to take a little bit to get ready because we have to wait for some people to learn a special skill to beat him. Okay then, I'll train twice as hard. Naruto said. She wanted to do this so badly it hurt. She was responsible for one of her sibling running away, so bring one back could at least somewhat make up for what she did. As the days passed, the task force trained hard to prepare for the upcoming battle with Accelerator, who was confirmed to be in the Land of Frost. They went over the plan again and again until they could do it in their sleep. Everyone wanted to bring Naruto back, and the only way to that was to beat the information out of Accelerator. So when the day finally came to leave for the Land of Frost, everyone was ready. Minato, Team Guy, Shikamaru, Kakashi, Itachi, Naruto, Sasuke and 4 Anbu were assembled at the village gate. In terms of power and people, the task force was far beyond the norm, and all to capture one ninja who could be anywhere from B rank to S rank. Alright, a mission is to capture and interrogate the B rank ninja Accelerator. Minato said. Hi. The task force yelled. Let's move out. Minato said, and the group ran full speed towards the Land of Frost. Naruto and Suigetsu were playing cards in the living room. It had been a couple days since the girls left and they should be at the base soon. They were alright since Suigetsu could apparently communicate with water, and since his clone was made for water he could tell it was still fine, and if anything happened to the girls it wouldn't disappear, letting Suigetsu know. They're here, Suigetsu said in the middle of the card game. And there's a lot of them. The water tell you? Naruto asked. Yeah, Suigetsu said. I'm still not sure how you can talk to water, but if you say they're here then I guess I'll believe you. Get into position, Naruto said as he got up and left the house. Suigetsu had a crazy look on his face as he sealed his sword in a scroll, so it could become liquefied too. Then he liquefied himself and started leaking through the floorboards. Naruto walked around the city for a bit and it didn't take him too long to pick up some friends. There were 2 of them following him. They were on either side and they were good. If Naruto hadn't been looking for them he would have never spotted them, so they must be Anbu. However, if the Leaf thought that tricks like this would be enough to bring him down, then they had another thing coming. Naruto had his hands in his pockets ever since he left the house and they were filled with pebbles. Naruto took a step forward like he normally would, but right when his heel touched the ground he used his vectors to launch himself off his heel and went flying backwards. It took no time at all for him to be positioned behind the guards. Naruto took his hands out of his pocket and threw a pebble at each one of their heads. One was quick enough to dodge, but the other one was caught off guard with Naruto's sudden change in direction and a pebble was sent through his brain. Naruto went flying back a little farther before he put his feet on the ground and stopped himself. All the people that were currently in the street ran away in a panic, just leaving Naruto and the Anbu. Naruto didn't have time to engage though, as kunais rained down on him from every direction. Naruto didn't even move and the kunais were sent back to sender. Naruto didn't hear any fleshing being hit however, so the attacker must have moved out of the way. Speaking of attackers, the Anbu had fled and Naruto couldn't see anyone in sight. That was until Naruto heard someone screaming above him. It was Guy, who looked like he was about to drop kick Naruto, but inside he missed and kicked the ground in front of Naruto. The kick was so powerful that it reduced the road to gravel, and Naruto realized he was trying to make him lose his footing. Naruto pushed himself off the ground and high into the air. It felt nice being so high above everyone. They were so much smaller, so much easier to crush. Naruto's happiness was short-lived as 2 Anbu jumped off building on either side of him. Both of them were doing hand signs, thinking that Naruto wouldn't be able to move in midair. How wrong they were. Naruto repelled the air behind him, which allowed him to shoot towards the Anbu. Naruto wrapped his hand around the Anbu's mask and threw him back down to earth. The impact wasn't enough to kill him, but Naruto produced 2 cyclones from his back and gridded the Anbu up in a blood-red tornado. Naruto went back to Earth too, but his descent was a lot more graceful and a lot less deadly than the Anbu's. Naruto turned around to look for his next opponent only to find himself eye to eye with Itachi Uchiha. Itachi cast a genjutsu on Naruto that made him seem like he was made out of paper. Naruto suspect there was more to it, but he didn't get to see as he made his chakra go haywire to break the genjutsu. Naruto tried to punch Itachi right when he broke free, but Itachi was too fast and dodged out of sight. Naruto was frustrated that he got away, but was distracted when he heard someone popping their knuckles behind him. Naruto turned around to see Rock Lee behind it. Naruto wanted to burst at laughing. Why would they send a guy who could only do taijutsu to fight him? They must know by now that he can reflect anything. Naruto looked around to find his real opponent, but no, it was only Lee. Everyone else had vanished. Lee ran at Naruto, getting ready to punch him in the face. Fine, whatever, come over here and break your wrist. It going to be such a same after all, you just got your arm healed after Gaara's attack. Lee was close to Naruto and threw his punch. Naruto just waited to hear the snapping sound, but that didn't happen. Instead, Lee's fist collided with Naruto's face. Naruto didn't lose his footing but went sliding back quite a ways. Naruto could feel blood running from his mouth and down his lip. Naruto could feel the pain, but his mind was in overdrive, so it didn't really sink in. How did Lee get past his reflection? Could the leaf have found a way around his reflection? No, that couldn't be right, because if they had, Guy or Itachi would have hit him too, so what made it so this guy could hit him? Naruto knew something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. There was only one thing for sure: Lee was able to hit him, and that made him dangerous. Naruto would have to kill him. He got ready to charge Lee only to discover he couldn't move. Naruto looked around to see what was stopping him, only to see the horrible truth. Lee had pushed him into the shadow of a nearby building, and Shikamaru had his shadow connected to that shadow. In other words, Naruto had been caught. Shikamaru was crouched in an alley with a smirk on his face. It was true that Accelerator's ability to move in the air and created cyclones had caught him off ground, but his plan was going great. All his predictions had been correct. Shikamaru thought back to his talk with Minato and Jiraiya. So what's this plan to beat Accelerator? Minato asked. Let me start out with his skills, Shikamaru said. At the start of his fight with Minima, she used one of her chains to try and hit him, but instead it bounced off him without dealing any damage. He wasn't paying an attention to her at the time, so the only conclusion is that he has some sort of shield active at all times. So the question is what the properties of his shield are and how can we break it or get through it. I looked for this solution the rest of the fight and I think I figured it out. You see, the move he used to give Minima her injury was him slamming a rubber ball into the ground and it would bounce back up and hit his hand, then go back down with more force than it had before. You could say it was accelerated, so his shield has the ability to repel objects. This would make him seem untouchable if it wasn't for one thing. When he threw the ball the first time, it bounced off a wall and he caught it. If his shield repels objects, how did he caught the ball? Minato and Jiraiya were leaned in so far that Shikamaru thought they were going to fall over. I guess he could have turned it off for that moment when he wanted to catch the ball, but if that was the case, then the ball should have injured his hand. Instead, it slowed down. Shikamaru continued. That's not the only thing. If his shield repels objects, how can he walk? Shouldn't he repel the ground under him? And how can he pick things up? Shouldn't those objects be repelled as well? There's only one answer: he can modify his shield. This gives us the reason why he doesn't repel the ground, he only repels moving things. Now this might have been the end of it, but it doesn't explain how he was able to catch the ball. This is where I have to start hypothesizing, but I believe his shield works on a system of calculations. This means he tells his shield to send everything away from him unless he tells it otherwise, like for example to let a rubber ball through, but slow it down. This would explain his ability to throw rocks so fast without having to wind up his shots. Minato and Jiraiya were shocked that Shikamaru had been able to figure all that out for just one fight, but, Shikamaru, how does that help? Use all you told uses that is impossible to touch him. Minato asked. Because his shield's greatest power is also its greatest weakness, Shikamaru said with that smirk that let you know he was really on a roll. You see, he might be able to change the calculations to let certain things through, but that means the regular repeal calculations are always the same. You see, you can't use calculations to just say, go away. If that was the case, he would have to tell it to change the calculation every time he changed position or a new object came at him from a different angle or speed or was a different substance. He obviously can't do that since it would take forever and he would have to know what the object was and where it was coming from beforehand, so how does he do it? By not telling it to move away from him. No, he has it set so that anything that comes at him is just reflected instead of repelled. Shikamaru was grinning like he had just given him the answer, but Minato and Jiraiya were still confused. But Shikamaru isn't repelling and reflation the same thing? Jiraiya asked. Not even close. Shikamaru said, sounding offended. You see, repelling would be if anything that came at him would be sent away, but reflection would be that anything he touches gets reverses, not sent away. So let's say something was touching him but going away from him, what would happen? Minato eyes lit up. He would reflect it and it come towards him. Minato said, jumping up from his seat. That's right, Shikamaru said. So if we have someone like Lee or Guy pulls their punch right before they hit accelerator, then he'll reflect it and end up basically hitting himself, and if that happens then that opens up all sorts possibilities. Like the punch being strong enough to push him back into my shadow jutsu. Normally it wouldn't work because the shadow would be reflected, but if accelerator's the one moving into it then his shield won't reflect it. Shikamaru, you're a genius. Tell Guy and Lee to start patriating pulling their punches and I want to hear from them right when they're done. Minato said. The plan had worked with only one hiccup. Lee was the only one who could pull his punches at the right time. Everyone else either wasn't good enough at taijutsu to do it or the ones that had been using their own style for so long that it was incredibly difficult to punch then pull back in such an unnatural way, but Lee was good enough and hadn't fully devolved his style yet, so he was able to do. It was a dangerous punch to pull off. If he pulled too late his wrist would be broken. If he pulled too early nothing would happen. But now after all that preparation and planning, accelerator was trapped and he was still looking at Lee trying to figure out how he hit him. There was something odd, however. Accelerator didn't even seem to be paying Shikamaru much attention even though he had stopped him from moving. Shikamaru was trying to figure out the reason for this when out of the corner of his eye he saw a large blade swinging towards him. It would have lobed off his head if it hadn't been for Kakashi. Kakashi had seen Shikamaru almost get decapitated. The sword was already too close for Kakashi to step in and block, so he did the only thing he could. He ran towards Shikamaru and grabbed him before jumping on top of a nearby building. Once Shikamaru was safe, Kakashi looked back at the assailant. He had somehow gotten a hold of Zabuza's sword and was using it quite effectively, and he seemed to come from nowhere. Sasuke and Naruto jumped up beside Kakashi. We're sorry sensei, we didn't have any gaps in our lookout, but somehow he still got through. Naruto said. It's alright, I didn't see him either. We'll just have to take him out. Kakashi said, although it didn't change the fact that Shikamaru was forced to drop his jutsu because that guy was able to attack him. Let's get him. Kakashi said, and the three of them jumped to engage the new enemy while Shikamaru stayed on the roof to monitor the situation. Naruto could move again thanks to Sugetsu, but there was a more urgent matter at hand. Lee was able to hit him and he still had no idea how, and Lee was running at him. Naruto wasn't going to let him get close enough to hit him again. He grabbed some pebbles from his pockets and started throwing them at Lee like a machine gun. Lee was doing a very good job at dodging them and he was getting closer. Naruto hissed, it looks like it was time to get serious. He reached into his back pocket to get his ball, but before he could, Lee rushed him with an incredible amount of speed. Lee again punched Naruto and sent him tumbling towards the guard. Naruto was trying to get up, blood now running from his nose. Naruto was in trouble and he knew it. Lee punches hurt, and since Naruto wasn't used to getting hurt, he was already starting to feel it. It only got worse as Lee came at him when Naruto was getting to his feet and punched him in the stomach. Naruto chuff up blood, but managed to stay on his feet. He took a swing at Lee, his vectors enhance his speed and strength, but Lee was fast and dodged. Naruto was already breathing heavily. This was the first time he had used so much energy in a fight, and along with the pain he was feeling, it really looked like he might lose this battle. If only he could figure out how Lee was hitting him, then he could turn the fight around. He wasn't giving very much time to think though, as Lee was coming at him again. Naruto knew that he couldn't let Lee hit him another time, so right before Lee landed his punch, Naruto pushed off the ground and jumped onto the rooftops, and that's when he saw it. Lee's arm was going backwards, he was pulling his punches. It all clicked why only Lee could hit him, why Lee hadn't been kicking him, since a kick was a lot harder to pull back than a punch. Naruto smiled, the secret was out. Naruto had to admit it was clever, and if he hadn't figured it out it could have done some real damage, but now he knew just how to defend against it. All he had to do was change his reflection to an acceleration. So anything coming towards Naruto would not be reflected but gain speed. Normally this would be a bad thing, but since Lee was pulling his punches it would accelerate his arm backwards with enough force to dislocate his shoulder. There was also no outside sign to show that he changed the properties of his shield, so Lee wouldn't know, and once Lee's shoulder was dislocated Naruto would change it back to reflection and continue the fight. Naruto changed it just as Lee was jumping up on the roof and was winding up for another punch. Naruto still acted like Lee would hit him so he wouldn't get suspicious. Come just a little closer, Naruto thought, but just before it looked like Naruto's plan was going to work, the worst possible thing happened. Minato teleported in front of with a Rasengan in his hand that when Naruto saw the seal on Lee's back that he hadn't noticed before, but that was hardly of any matter now as Naruto's head was racing. What the hell? Why was there a seal on Lee and why did Minato teleport at this exact moment? He couldn't have known my reflection was off, could he? Wait just a moment Hokage, that's not all there is to my plan. Shikamaru spoke to Minato and Jiraiya in Minato's office. What else could there be? Minato asked. You see, if Accelerator's as smart as I think he is, then he's likely to figure out what's going on, but we can use that to our advantage. Shikamaru explained. Go on, Minato said as he settled back down in his seat. Very well, you see, when Accelerator realizes what's going on he'll probably adjust his shield accordingly. Shikamaru said. If it was me I would switch the shield so it acts with a force that would push the force, so when Lee or Guy pulls their punch their arms would be shooting back. This is the easiest way to solve the problem, and all it would take is reversing his already existing reflection. So what you're saying is Accelerator has a counter for your plan? Jiraiya said. That's exactly what I'm saying, but what he doesn't know is that we want that to happen. Shikamaru said. The shield is something physically and not just an act of Accelerator's will, but we can't see it, so it means that he can make changes to it without use knowing. We do have a way to know when he makes changes, however, and it all thanks to what his shield is made of, the thing all ninja use for all ninjutsu, chakra. We also just happen to have a certain white-eyed clan who are made for seeing chakra. So what you're saying is we attack him when Neji, who just so happens to be on Lee's team, see it change? Minato said. That right, Accelerator's shield has to flare at the very least for him to change it, and when that happens you can teleport while his defenses is down and really make it hurt. Shikamaru said, proud of himself for coming up with a plan like this. And it worked beautifully. The truth was that Naruto probably did have enough time to switch back to his reflection, but he didn't, all because he looked into his father's eyes. They were filled with the fire, the anger Minato had for Accelerator. He had hurt his daughter, mocked Kushina about her missing kids, and withheld information about Naruto. Then he left the village with a smirk on his face and blood on his hands, and because of that Naruto hesitated for just a moment and the Rasengan was slammed into his stomach. Naruto felt his stomach twist into a knot and his insides seemed to explode. Naruto puked up more blood than he knew had in him before he was sent spiraling through the air. He didn't know how far he went, but it was quite a ways. He would have gone even farther if he hadn't hit the wall of a building. Maybe, hit wasn't the right word, it was more like crashed through it and tumbling on the hardwood floor before coming to a stop. Naruto laid there on the floor spitting up blood and his stomach on fire. It was a stronger Rasengan than it normally would have been because Naruto helped accelerate the damn thing. It was the worst pain Naruto had felt in his either life, and since pain wasn't something he was accustomed to, it was a miracle he didn't black out. But it was the only thing he could focus on. He couldn't even think of the right calculation to change his reflection back to normal. Every time he tried he would go back to the pain and forget. Naruto was a sitting duck and he knew it. He couldn't think of calculations and the Leaf Nin were probably coming after him right now. It looks like he should have gone with the girls after all. Just when Naruto had accepted his fate he heard a familiar. How does it feel to get your ass handed to you? Sugetsu said. Naruto looked up at him with a great deal of pain. How do you get away from your fight so fast? Liquefied myself and went into the sewers just like how I got past them in the first place. Sugetsu said. Whatever, we just need to get out of here before the Hokage finds us. Naruto said, trying to get to his feet, but falling on his butt. You'll have to help we walk. I can't, your reflection will just send me away. Sugetsu said. It not working, you'll be able to touch me. Naruto said, coughing up some more blood. Alright then, Sugetsu said, picking him up bridal style. Normally Naruto would have killed him for that, but he was in way too much pain to care. Sugetsu left the house and started darting through the alleyways. But as they went on, they realized that they weren't going to escape. The Leaf Nin were looking everywhere for them, and Sugetsu, who wasn't known for having the greatest stamina anyways, was even slower thanks to him having to carry Naruto around, who may have just be a rock for all the good he was doing. When it finally looked like they were going to get caught, a miracle happened. Well, it looks like we made it just in time. White Zestu said, who was stinking out of the alley wall. You two have gotten in some trouble. Black Zestu said. Whatever, just get us out of here. Sugetsu said. How you suggest we do that? Zestu said. You can walk through wall, can't you do that with us too? Sugetsu asked. I can only do one person at a time, and it takes a lot out of me, which is the reason we didn't do it with the girls. Zestu said. Sugetsu, liquefy yourself into your water bottles, then he can take both of us. Naruto said. Are you kidding? Do you really think I can fit in there? Sugetsu said. Well, you better, or you're getting left behind. Naruto yelled. Sugetsu managed to squeeze himself into his 2 water bottles, and Naruto grabbed them, allowing Zestu to grab Naruto and take them to the base in record time. Once Zestu dropped him off at the base, Naruto opened the water bottles, letting Sugetsu out before coughing up more blood and collapsing to the floor. The girls heard this and ran out to see Naruto lying on the ground in his own blood. Kami, what happened to you? Mito screamed, running up to her brother. Doesn't matter, Naruto said weakly, just get me to a bed, I need to sleep. Sugetsu picked him up, much to the girls' surprise, and carried him to one on the many beds they had in the base. Once Naruto was in, the pain was finally too much and he blacked out. When Naruto finally came to, he was still in pain, but not nearly as much as he had been in before. Naruto looked around to see where he was, having forgotten he was in one of the Akatsuki's bases, but there was something else that caught Naruto's eye. Hanabi was sitting on a stool right next to his bed. She had dark circles under her eyes and was looking out onto space. Are you all right? Naruto asked. This seemed to bring Hanabi back to reality as her eyes snapped to Naruto. Thank Kami, you're all right, Hanabi said as she jumped onto Naruto and hugged him, completely forgetting that this would normal result in her getting sent flying back. Thanks, Naruto. Reflection. Hey, get off me, Naruto said, only to notice that Hanabi had fallen asleep in that position. What the hell, Hanabi, don't go to sleep, Naruto yelled. Just then Sugetsu walked into the roof drinking his water bottle. Well, isn't that cute? He said. Shut up, Naruto said, although he was still in pain so it didn't sound like a threat. Why are you going to do? Get out of that bed and kill me? Suggest mocked. Naruto knew that he couldn't and just settled with asking Sugetsu how long he had been out. 2 days. The girls yelled at me when you went under. Yelling at me saying, why I didn't protect you, or, what happened. So to get them to shut up, I told them that you got the crap beat out of you by the Hokage. After that, the girls just went to being sad and waiting for you to wake up. Hanabi there waited by your bed for the entire 2 days, never leaving or sleeping. Naruto looked down at the sleeping girl on his chest. What any idiot, Naruto said, but he didn't really mean it. By the way, Zestu said that he would give you the finer detail about the Akatsuki. Should I call him and tell him you're up? Sugetsu asked. No, I'm still really tired, I'm going back to sleep here in a minute, Naruto said, and it was the true. It was amazing that just being awake for a few minutes could take so much out of him. Suit yourself, Sugetsu said, leaving the room. Now that he was gone, looked down at the sleeping Hanabi, trying to figure out what to do. He tried pushing her off, but he was too weak and Hanabi's grip was too strong. It also didn't look like he would be able to wake her up. Naruto pain had subsided enough out that he could switch back to reflection and force her off, but that would be a pain in the ass, and just laid down with Hanabi on top of him. At least he told himself it would be a pain in the ass. The truth was, it was actually kind of nice. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe, and see you guys later.